Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure and honor to be here in Ho Chi Minh City. This is my first time in this very nice city. I hope you can understand the way I speak. Okay? Alright. I was asked to be the moderator for this first panel discussion, and I'm very grateful because this morning we have, let me introduce our panelists. First, we have Mr. Fong Chung Fo. Okay, he will be speaking on the topic security as a market enabler, not a roadblock. Then we have Dr. Komen Pipulyarojana, who will be speaking on tips and tricks from CSO Insider. And I have to also announce that our fourth speaker, who was supposed to present on the other topic, couldn't make it to be with us this morning. Nevertheless, we shall proceed with my presentation. Okay, like I said, my name is Rohama Mazen. I work for Cybersecurity Malaysia, specifically in the Security Assurance Department. So what I do is I lead a team of vulnerability assessment analysts and penetration testers. So Cybersecurity Malaysia is an agency under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation of Malaysia, and we are a government agency. So we are not for-profit company. Okay, the agenda of my talk today is as follows. I will describe first some of the changes around the organization landscape today. Then I'm going to quote some data from the IC2 Global Information Security Workforce Study. Next, I will mention one of the evolving IT norms, which is BYOD, or bring your own device, and some internal controls associated with the BYOD trend. Then we will go through some things that perhaps the CSO can consider to be among his list of things to do. And I'll close with the role of IC2. Okay, IC2 conducted its 6th annual Global Information Security Workforce Study together with Frost and Sullivan and in partnership with Booz Allen Hamilton. The aim of the study was to gauge the threat horizon and dynamic information security workforce that is faced with increasingly sophisticated and emerging new threats. More than 12,000 professionals were involved in the study. Okay, from the study, we are reminded that information security professionals must be highly adaptable in learning and applying new skills, new technologies and procedures in order to manage a dynamic range of risks. The new trend includes BYOD, cloud computing, and social media. In addition to that, the study also found that the largest gap between the risk and response attention by information security professional is in secure application development. I will touch a little bit more about these topics later on. Okay, here is a list of the top security concerns. If you notice that the top 3 vulnerabilities or threat, this is the second time that application vulnerabilities is listed as the highest or the top concern from the cybersecurity professionals. So the first time in the history of the survey that 2 years in a row, application vulnerabilities is the highest concern. And looking at the list of threats, almost 3/4 of them are people-oriented. Okay, so this is perhaps an indication that there is a people problem theme with a people solution, perhaps. And naturally, the C-levels are more concerned about the threats. We find that the most concerned about hackers, activists, and organized crimes are the banking, the insurance, and the finance industries. Of course, the government will be mostly concerned with state-sponsored acts and cyber terrorism. Also, we note that concerns about cloud-based services has increased over the previous year study. And I think we can agree that to lessen application vulnerability, the upfront means is secure application development. And this has something to do with the training and the competency of the security professionals themselves. This is what the survey respondents rank as their top priorities of things to avoid. As you can see, the top three are damage to reputation, breach of laws and regulations, and service downtime. From this list, we can see that the information security is more than just an IT function because the impacts will cut across the whole organization. And maybe an interesting thing to point out is damage to reputation. The industry that's mostly concerned with that would be the banking and the insurance and finance, where else the healthcare and is mostly concerned with breach of laws and regulation. Now let us zero in into one of the prominent IT trends. BYOD, or bring your own device, is assessed to be the highest security risk. This is probably because BYOD risk is sort of cast upon the organization. Unlike the thing like the cloud computing thing, where it is carefully considered and chosen by the organization whether they want to go into cloud computing. So BYOD is driven mostly from the employees and cast upon the organization. So which industry do you think is the most relaxed about users bringing their own device? Anybody wants to have a guess? Okay, education. We find the education industry is the one who really don't mind that their users are bringing their own devices. How about the most strict about BYOD? Any ideas? Banking? That's correct. The other one would be government. They are very not so relaxed about employees bringing BYOD or their own device. Now, one of the problems with personal devices is that they represent more entry points into your network. If you add the risk of user installed application, then the risk even becomes even higher. That's why some people say BYOD is bring your own disaster instead of bring your own device. Okay, if I may now, I'd like to mention a few of some internal controls to overcome the BYOD threat. One of the ways that companies use to manage BYOD risk is end user agreements and policies. Meaning the user have to agree if they want to bring in their own device, that their device, they must let the device to be installed with remote wipe and encryption tools, things like this. The others are security technologies like mobile device management, mobile anti-malware, and so on. Okay, talking about internal control, I'm sure everybody has heard about COSO and the internal control integrated framework. I'd like now to briefly mention the newly revised COSO version 2013. It has 5 components, just as it did before. Okay, being the control environment, the risk assessment, information and communication, control activities and monitoring activities. The framework now has 17 principles, which is new in 2013. I would like to point out one of the principles to you next. This principle is from the control environment component, and it has relevance to my next topic. So principle number 4 from the control environment says the organization demonstrates a commitment to attract, develop, and retain competent individuals in alignment with objectives. So how do we demonstrate our commitment to developing competence? One way is to get our people trained and to get them certified. After all, people are the key to securing an organization's infrastructure. So a little bit about certification. Certification is a process that shows a person's knowledge and experience in a particular subject matter. It requires a detailed definition of job tasks so that skills and knowledge are properly defined. It is also a measurement of that person's knowledge and experience, which can be the form of an examination or practical. I mentioned that people are a key tool in information security and in securing an organization's infrastructure. Top of the list are human aspects. If you see software and hardware solutions are at the bottom there. Another way of reading this result or this chart is software and software solutions are only effective when people are properly trained to use them. That's why they are quite low in the ranking, and the rest are having to do with people. Things like qualified security staff, management support of security policies, training, and so on. Some of the things that the CXO can do include things like getting support from top management, getting support from the ground, obtain the necessary training and certification, and reviewing and incorporating frameworks like the COSO framework that I mentioned, and putting in measurable measurements and reviewing them. So finally, where does IC Squared fit in? IC Squared was formed over 20 years ago to develop an accepted professional standard for the practice of information security. Professional standards and required areas of knowledge are represented in IC Squared CBK, or Continuous Body of Common Body of Knowledge. So IC Squared is the oldest, most established information security education and certifying organization, and is dedicated to professionalizing the information security workforce. This is IC Squared mission and vision. IC Squared information security certifications provide organizations with the assurance that their staff has been tested on understanding industry best practices and possess a broad knowledge of the field as well as sound professional judgment. The certifications are vendor neutral and differ from vendor specific certifications. So as you know, vendor specific certifications are often tied to a particular technology and are awarded upon successful completion of an examination. On the other hand, vendor neutral certifications are not tied to a specific vendor or product but encompass a broad scope of knowledge. Finally, I'd like to thank you for your attention.